While Lionel Richie was standing in the hallway of his Beverly Hills residence, he was watching a little film that, to anyone else, could have appeared to be nothing special. During the time that his boss was using his phone, newly printed copies of his memoir, Truly, were being transported along the conveyor belt in a printing plant in Virginia. Richie, on the other hand, did not consider the situation to be typical. With his eyes wide open, he appeared to be staring at a newborn child as he clamped his hand over his lips. The words, "This is not a book about who I met and who I knew," were spoken in a low voice by him. It's all about the fear. Is it possible for you to triumph over your deepest fears and go forward? This autobiography was a long time coming for a man whose voice had been the backdrop to generations of music. From lovers swaying to the tunes of Hello and Endless Love to crowds roaring along with All Night Long. Nevertheless, Lionel Richie was still that same boy from Tuskegee, Alabama, asking himself the same question: can I face my fears? This was the case despite the fact that millions of CDs had been sold, stadiums had been completely filled out, and shelves were stacked with Grammys, American Music Awards, and even an Oscar. There was a boy from Tuskegee. Lionel Brockman Richie Jr. was a timid young kid who spent his childhood on the historic grounds of Tuskegee Institute. This was a long time before the world became familiar with his voice. In addition to the fact that his mother was an English teacher and his grandmother was a classical pianist, their home was filled to the brim with music, books, and talk. There was a time when Richie had a desire of becoming an Episcopal priest, and he talks about it in his memoir. According to his recollection, I wanted to heal people's hearts. However, it turns out that I was capable of doing it with music. Tuskegee was a proud community that mostly consisted of people of African descent and was built on education, dignity, and tenacity. Richie says that it was a haven for the best doctors, the best lawyers, and the best surgeons, who just happened to be black despite the fact that they were all black. In spite of the fact that he was raised in such a supportive atmosphere, he had an awareness of the terrible realities that existed beyond those walls. An explanation is provided by Richie, who states, "We all understood that if you were black, you had to be twice as good as the standard. You had to be able to overcome obstacles that were twice as difficult and overcome doubts that you had." These words were his compass, a lesson that his father, a military man who was quite severe, instilled in him on a daily basis. When I was growing up, my father would ask me, "What is the difference between a hero and a coward? The two of them are utterly terrified. One step forward and one step back," the proverb goes. Lionel Richie, originally a scrawny youngster with glasses, would go on to become one of the most legendary musicians of all time, and this lesson would serve as his compass throughout his whole life. Commodores, from the dorm rooms to the world of stardom. In college, Richie became a member of a band known as the Commodores, which marked the beginning of his journey toward glory. There was a group of young people who were full of aspirations, but they had very little money and a limitless supply of energy. When Richie and his family spent their first summer in New York City, they were unable to afford hotel rooms and instead slept under a table in Harlem. Richie recounts this experience in his novel. Whereas they were lacking in comfort, they more than made up for it with their talent. Richie's voice, which was silky, soulful, and instantly recognized, became the band's beating heart for a number of reasons. Throughout the 1970s, the Commodores became one of the most successful bands thanks to songs such as Easy, 3 Times a Lady, and Sail On. But even as the success continued to come in, anxiety continued to remain. Richie acknowledges, "I was terrified of losing everything I cared about. I had witnessed firsthand how rapidly fame could wane." His departure from the Commodores in order to pursue a career as a solo artist only served to heighten that dread. "It occurred to me, what if that was the end? What if that was the pinnacle of my career?" Still, he had no need to be concerned. His debut as a solo artist resulted in the release of singles such as Truly, You Are, and My Love. Next, he released the songs Hello, Stuck on You, and All Night Long, which would go on to establish him as a legendary figure. This is the rocket ride of fame. It was impossible to stop Lionel Richie by the middle of the 1980s. His songs were at the top of charts all over the world. His tours were so successful that they completely sold out stadiums, and his name was synonymous with dignity and feeling. His presence was felt everywhere. He was heard on the radio, seen on television, and even gave a performance at the closing ceremony of the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles in front of 2 billion people. Following then, the endeavor that brought about a sea change was called We Are the World. The song, which was written in collaboration with Michael Jackson and recorded with a group of the most prominent musicians in the world, including Stevie Wonder and Bruce Springsteen, went on to become a phenomenon on a global scale. Within just 3 days, it was able to generate $80 million for the purpose of providing aid to those suffering from starvation in Africa. Richie comments, "We Are the World changed my life, and for good reason. It prompted me to wonder, if I am in the midst of my championship season, what benefits can I derive from it?" However, even at the pinnacle of his success, life was about to put him to the test once more. The descent from the highest point. The higher you climb, the harder the fall, and Lionel Richie experienced a particularly severe plummet. His voice finally gave up after spending years under constant pressure and performing non-stop. The public saw the dissolution of his marriage. After that, his father, who had been his most influential figure, passed away. Without making a sound, Richie whispered, "I had no idea that you could disintegrate with a rocket." Other people, including the managers, the agents, and the friends, were safe inside the building. I was right on the side of it, and I was on fire. This time period, which he refers to as his lost decade, is discussed in 2 of the most vulnerable chapters available in Truly. He struggled with negative emotions such as sadness, burnout, and self-doubt during this period of time. "I suffered from stage fright. I was diagnosed with ADHD. Fear gripped me." His confession is that he had everything. In the year 1991, Richie found himself in Jamaica, where he was by himself, drinking crystal on the beach while the sea was rising around him. Every night, he says, the staff at the hotel would come out, pick me up in my chair, and retrieve my empty champagne bottle, which was now full of salt water. It was the moment that he lost his composure and became reborn. Tuskegee will be visited again. Immediately following his breakdown, Richie went back to Tuskegee, the one place that had always been able to heal him. There, his grandma, who was 97 years old at the time, provided him with a counsel that was both the simplest and the most profound of his entire life. The question that she asked was, "Why don't you get a decent night's sleep? Your next move is in God's hands." A mantra was formed out of those words. Richie stopped battling his concerns and began listening once more, this time to himself, to life, and to music more specifically. He rediscovers the delight that he once found in writing songs and singing them. The decade of the 2000s found him back, revitalized, smarter, and more grounded than he had ever been before. Truly writing. The sessions conducted at midnight. Lionel Richie was aware that his memoir could not be a glossy celebrity tell-all when he made the decision to write it by himself. It would have to be genuine, unfiltered, and human. He formed a partnership with the writer Mim Eichler Rivas, and the 2 of them started holding sessions at his house in Beverly Hills on a nightly basis. In a humorous tone, Richie stated, "I have to be there when God is available. There are no attorneys, nobody in charge, there are no agents, there is no press, nothing at all." Beginning around 1 in the morning and continuing until daybreak, Richie would regale Rivas with tales, some of which were humorous and others of which were heartbreaking. Their terminology was a source of disagreement on occasion. Richie laughed as he recalled that she had previously used the phrase flabbergasted. "I informed her, 'Mim, I am a black person. I do not use the word flabbergasted.'" The result of those sessions was Truly, a book that is 463 pages long and takes the reader on an adventure through fear, love, success, and survival. All 3, fear, faith, and fortitude. Fear is a recurrent motive that may be seen throughout the entirety of Truly. In his own words, Richie considers fear as both his biggest challenge and his greatest teacher. "There is no such thing as fear," he stated. "It is up to you to decide what you will do with it. You will be pursued if you run. If you confront it, it will vanish." Throughout his entire life, From his first nervous audition to his current existence as a global celebrity and American Idol mentor, he has adhered to this idea completely. Young artists look forward to him as a guiding light because of his calm knowledge, which he is recognized for on the show. With a grin, he says, "I've seen it all. The anxiety, the uncertainty, and the nerves. It is my responsibility to assist them in locating that crucial moment in which they trust in themselves." The inheritance of a troubadour. Lionel Richie, who is 76 years old, does not appear to be slowing down. He has just returned from a tour of Europe and is now making preparations for another journey across South America. Audiences continue to be captivated by his voice, which is still as velvety smooth as velvet. Nevertheless, despite all of his fame and money, Richie finds the most joy in contemplation. His statement is as follows: "When I look back, I don't see any hits or awards. I take note of instances of bravery. Each and every time I had fear, I proceeded forward regardless." As he strolls through his Beverly Hills estate, he passes by 2 sitting rooms, each of which is equipped with a spectacular piano. One exhibits trophies that reach all the way up to the ceiling. The second item is a visitor book that has been signed by friends such as Pharrell Williams, Jackie Chan, and Sidney Poitier's names. However, the true value that he holds is the life that lies behind those signatures. It is the music, the faith, and the resiliency that he has maintained throughout his life. Perfection is not the goal of life, Richie muses to himself. What matters is that you show up, all the time, even if you are experiencing fear. Truly is not merely a memoir, rather, it is a love letter to perseverance. This piece perfectly reflects the essence of a guy who was able to transform pain into harmony, fear into fortitude, and uncertainty into destiny. The tale of Lionel Richie is one of grace under pressure, demonstrating that even the brightest stars are birthed in the shadows during their formative years. In the closing chapters of the book, he concludes by writing, "You should take a step forward each time you sense fear. That is what I am thinking about at the moment. Is today a bit perplexing? It's true. It's possible that tomorrow won't come." He may have been doing that all along, where every note, every lyric, and every song sung from the soul, and for a guy who once dreamed of healing hearts through faith, it is possible that he has been doing that all along.